Hello, and welcome to Busy, Grady, Inked, and Witchy, a magical living podcast for the busy witch. I'm Morgan, eclectic witch of more than 20 years, self-proclaimed fluffy bunny, lightworker, and busy witch. Here we will talk all things witchy, including my personal magical tips and tricks, busy witch hacks, and real talk about current metaphysical happenings, which wouldn't be complete without my snark and unique way of looking at the world. So brew some coffee or tea, sit back, and let's do this. Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to the next episode of Busy, Gritty, Inked, and Witchy. I am Morgan, and today I have an absolutely amazing guest. He is an amazing spirit who helps people integrate the physical, spiritual, cultural, energetic, and emotional aspects of themselves into their healing practice. Please welcome Garnet Suidy.
Hello, Margo. So wonderful to be with you today.
Hello. I am so happy that this is technically our first time meeting, but I'm very grateful that when I reached out, you made it very easy to reach out, but that you agreed to be on the podcast today.
I'm super honored. Thank you for asking.
Yeah. I want to talk today about the magic of movement and sound, because that seems to be a lot of what you do in your work. And I do have to say, I did a little bit of research, before having you on here today. Your website does say alchemical exploration of healing arts, and I freaking love that. But I would love for you to explain a little bit more as to what that is.
I mean, for me, it's really a notion, a nod towards. There's just so many paths. There's so many different modalities, concepts, whatever that are available. And for me, in my experience, it's just that it's alchemy. It's the process of receiving, from masters, from my own experience, from just the world around me, and then distilling those experiences and the knowledge into like a lived wisdom, and that's what that reference is for me. It's just this process of what we go through in our own experiences and how we distill it and take the parts that serve us and that allow us to be of service, and how we dance that dance, and there's literally 8 billion ways to do it. So for me, it's just that I don't like to put myself into boxes, and when I do work with people, it's very much inspired by what's present. I don't come with some top down approach to healing. It's very much, well, what's going on, where are you, and how do we work with that.
Yeah. And a lot of what you do is through movement, and I think at least a lot of us know the physical benefits of movement. We understand, or have at least been taught, the physical benefits of exercise and moving your body, especially as you get older. But I definitely want to talk about the energetic and spiritual benefits, because that's what the podcast is more about. And that's something that I personally have actually had a mind flip about movement. Like for me, exercise until a few months ago was a 4-letter word. And I made myself do it because I knew about the physical benefits. But what to you are how does movement how can you incorporate spiritual or energetic into the movement?
For me, in my own practice, it's pretty simple. It's an act of devotion.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it boils down to. Is it's an act of devotion. It's something that I do for spirit, which is me, because I love it so much, and I know that it's a direct pathway. So I come from a background of professional athletics. I was a figure skater for many, many years and trained at a high level and worked with athletes at a very high level. So my relationship with discipline has gone through multiple healing rounds of just I don't even tell myself what to do anymore. I will not be, I will not do it. And that was a critical point for me in my relationship with movement, as something that is medicinal for not just the body, but for our energetic body, our light body, our spirit. So that's really the seed of it for me, is this transmutation, this alchemization into devotion was something that I know I should do. It just has become something that I need to, I have to, it's got to come out. And the beautiful thing about engaging with dance, and I've trained in a lot of different kinds of movement, and for me, it always comes back to dance because it's such a pure expression of whatever, of joy, of drama, of excitement, of whatever. And yeah, it really comes in through that. Is once we're in this energy of devotion, of love, of cultivating joy, it starts to feed into our light bodies, and it strengthens that, and it circulates energy that might otherwise be a little bit stagnant, and dance is a really wonderful practice that allows enough space and freedom to go into those nooks and crannies,
Mhm.
if we can get over the judgment of ourselves and how it looks and worried about all of that kind of shit, just
Yeah.
that's step one. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's absolutely true. And I think for me personally, I got my bachelor's in metaphysical sciences last year. I'm working on my master's now. And earlier this year, I had to take a class on the spirituality of exercise. And that was when the mind shift came for me, is like I would get up every morning and work out. I can't plan things. I'm too flaky or too much of an air sign. Like I can't plan things. So literally I would wake up in the morning and be like, what am I doing today? Am I, going for a walk? Am I dancing? What am I doing? But I still had to do it because I have to work out. And then this mindset shift happened. And I was like, no, you know what? I'm doing this for my body. I'm doing this for my soul. I'm doing this for to connect all parts of me first thing in the morning. So if anything goes crazy, I know I connected everything that morning through whatever it is. And it became more of I get to do this morning. Yeah. And I love that mind shift, that happened.
Honoring the body,
What?
Honoring the body, and I mean, it is our aspect of the earth, and that's part of it. We're embodied souls, but we're also ensouled bodies. So that's just as much a part of the experience. And in terms of movement and spiritual practice, it's tuning your instrument. This is how we receive our information. It's how we output or manifest or spellcast or whatever you're doing with your energetic body. So learning to tune into that through our movement practices, through this idea of I get to do this. I have the privilege of riding around in this avatar.
Mhm.
So let's see what it has for me. This is billions of years of technology and information. And we have this funny little brain up here that lives for a couple of decades and thinks it knows something.
Yeah.
But really, using movement as a practice to allow the body to then inform you, it cleans that conversation so that when the messages from spirit are moving through, it's clear, it's not muddled by chatter. We're tuning our instrument. Oh, I know that. I feel that, and I feel that to be true. Right? It's like, for me, it's always the truth bumps, as I say it, my whole body's yeah, that. So it confirms it for me because it's present, and I know, okay, I'm on the right track, right? We're moving through. I'm allowing the energy is flowing. So it gives you that physical sensation to allow the space to understand the spiritual experience,
No, that's what I find. I think it's funny because when I wake up in the morning, I kind of head out of the bedroom. I'm a morning person. Everyone else in my family are night people. So I'm up super early with the sun, and I go out in the rest of in a house, and I kind of move for a second, and I sit there and I'm like, okay, what are we doing this morning, body? Because I need to know, like, are you stiff? Do we need to go do some yoga? Do we need to go stretch it out? Or do you have pent up shit that you need to get out? Like, do we need to put on rock music? Like, what are we doing this morning? And that's what I do every morning, is basically have a conversation with myself.
I love it. That is the best. That is the best. It really, I mean, for me anyways, personally, I'm 100% on that train. I think it gives you the perfect space to let your body speak, you know. I've worked with people in the past where they have so much structure in what they do. And when I ask, like, at any point, do you just defer to your body and say, hey, any suggestions? What do you want to do? And it's so important. It really is. And then we get the right information, you know.
Mhm.
And I love that. I'm so happy to hear that.
Working with people, do you find that there are some common places where energy gets stuck and physically kind of manifests?
Yeah, we all have our spots. There's like a general kind of understanding consensus through the various like body mind fields of where stuff goes. um, I see that it's this relationship between structure and function primarily that creates these common things, like what we do with our bodies and how we interact physically, and then emotionally what we create for ourselves and how our body has to hold that, you know. And when you think about it, usually it's pretty logical, you know what I mean? Like low back pain often refers to a notion of like stability and support or financial security. um, but it's all tied in, right?
Mhm.
The body is a holistic unit. The body doesn't differentiate.
Mhm.
You know, it just is. It's nature. It's just truth, right?
Yeah.
And in terms of like where we store things and where we carry things, it's just a reflection of the general state of existence. You know what I mean? And also what we believe about our bodies. You know, we can relate certain things to certain things. You know, like, but it's for me these notions of like common areas where we find some sort of emotional dis-ease or something like that. It's always reflected in posture. Um, much more for me in my experience as a practitioner working for people, it's reflected in their posture as opposed to where they perceive the pain to be coming from, right?
Okay.
um, it's like this two-way street, like we're talking about with movement and joy. You know, if you move in a joyful way, you cultivate joy. If you are joyful, you move it comes out in your body in a joyful way. It's the same thing, structure and function, right? So when our posture reflects an energy, it's a loop. You know, the physical form is reinforcing the energetic experience, right? So if someone is like feeling their we all have our like spots, right? If it's like in your shoulders and your neck, when your stress level goes up, that's where you might experience, you know. And it's a protection mechanism. If I do this with my body, what am I transmitting to you? You know, what energy do you perceive from me just by seeing this in my posture, as opposed to when I'm here like this, right? So these spots are where we manifest these experiences.
Mhm.
So yeah, it might be that I'm literally like holding the weight of the world on my shoulders, and that's it's here. I'm holding it up because I'm protecting myself. I'm not sure that it's okay. I'm closing my heart. These kind of things. So rather than like divining what the energetic experience is from a physical symptom or sensation that's presented, for me it's really about like unpacking it a little bit more,
Mhm.
and coming at it from a few different angles, you know, so that if we create some kind of awareness of these trigger places, we understand that, oh, I'm just getting close to my threshold.
Yeah.
You know, like this is my stress level threshold. I'm like floating here and it's okay. And then it starts to tingle a little bit. And then all of a sudden I'm banging on my threshold and I'm sitting here going, oh, my back, my back, my back, my back, my back's not good. My back's not good. And my body hears, oh, the back, it's not good. The back's not good. The back's not good. Oh gosh, the back's not good. Oh no, 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 no.
Yeah.
we're holding too much. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. And then something comes, an email comes, and bing, it's over. You
Yeah.
know? And energetically, it's like we can look at it from like a balance of yin and yang. You know what I mean? It's we value a lot output in this sort of occidental world out here, you know, and that's yang energy. Um, and there's like a judgment around yin energy and being in a restful state. It has value, you know. We have to count it because um, it's kind of like if you're actually taking the time to rest and not fill your time, you're being unproductive, and that means your value is inherently lower, right?
Yeah, no, it definitely is.
And that's the real trip in this. So when we look at the body from these places of like, well, what are the physical sensations that I experience, and what is the energetic experience that's either reflected or creating the conditions for that to exist. And like you say, if you have this practice of conversing with your body, of communicating, you can just literally ask, hey, what? Show me, tell me.
Mhm.
And something comes. The emotion will come, or a flash will come, or a memory will come, or you'll bump into something and see something. You know, it's just like putting yourself in that state of mindfulness and giving your body a place to talk, you know.
No.
Can you still hear me? It's starting to rain here.
Yeah. No, I can still hear you.
Okay.
I don't even know what rain is. Here in Tucson, Arizona, we don't get that. So I miss rain terribly.
Well, up here in the mountains in Costa Rica, we have an abundance of water and rain. Yeah, beautiful land.
Yeah. So it was like I said a few months ago that I kind of started to integrate asking my body what it needed. It came after a hip. It wasn't even a hip injury. I literally woke up one morning and my hip was hurting. And I was like, are you kidding me? So of course I go through all the physical things, you know, make sure that there's nothing medically wrong. And at that point, that is what I do with anything. I wake up with something. I'm like, okay, physically, let's see if something's wrong. If it's not physically, what is it spiritually, or what is it energetically? And that was when I really started diving into hip openers, associated with creative flow, which at the time was non-existent. I was just going through the motions of work every day. And so that I think began my journey of talking to my body, because I realized that it was absolutely screaming at me on a daily basis in one way or another. And what you said about rest is 100% what I found. Like, I was pushing myself too much. I was not listening to my body. I was not doing what it wanted me to do at all. And it fought back. It does that.
Yeah. There's always little like warning bleeps, you know, but we don't take them seriously until, and you know, it's interesting what the body will do for you. When I was competing, you know, nationals would be at the end of January, and you're training for months and months and months and months and months leading up to this. And it was like clockwork every year after the competition finished and I got home, just flu, strep throat, this thing, just my body would start to purge all of this stuff that it had been holding, because my spirit, my mental aspect had this goal and was so fixated and focused that my body did what it needed to contain all of this stuff and keep us running until we got there and the body just said, it's my turn. You know, I like to say, like, if you don't make space and time for your illness, you're going to have to make it for your illness.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's so true. And having that space to let the body talk and inform what you're going to do, it helps us recognize the little, like I said, the little bleeps when the light starts to flash or the warning light comes on, and you keep driving and keep driving and keep
Yep. I think one of the most powerful things too for me was actually sound. I wanted to talk for a minute about that because I actually came to know Garnet, he didn't know who I was, but I came to know him through the program Body Groove. And I was so happy because it was actually at the same time that I was having basically this mind shift that I can move my body. And I want to. They introduced a segment called Spirit Groove that was run by you, which I loved. And it makes me cry every single time I do it. The emotional building and then release is absolutely amazing. But at the end of the first one, you're like, we're going to play with sound. Now, mind you, I have no problem. I've been doing Body Groove for over a year. So I have no problem sitting in my living room. My husband or my son will wake up and I'm in there like moving. I don't care. I don't care if they see, I will be an idiot. I have no qualms about that whatsoever. But the minute that you were like, okay, inhale and exhale out a sound, I'm like, excuse me? I don't know why I found it so uncomfortable. I don't know if that's like a general thing, just when you start to work with sound or kind of getting sound out of yourself, if a lot of people do have to push through like an uncomfortability about it.
For sure. I mean, sound has been a very interesting practice for me over the last couple of years in particular. And of course, there's a whole set of belief systems and judgments around having to sound good and sound nice and all of this kind of stuff. So for me, the real switch in the practice was when I started to just think about getting out of the way, as opposed to like me, this guy making the sound, just allowing myself to be the instrument. And of course, when we start that kind of practice, the instrument might be a little rusty and might be a little out of tune. Mm-hmm. And that's totally to be expected. You know what I mean? You can just like start by running a marathon, but you know, it's just that acceptance, and really like allowing those judgments to exist and give them a space at the table, but like you say, it's this transmutation of like, I get to make sound. It is my instrument. It is the only thing that is innate to this form that can play and create sound. And sound creates the universe, the word, the vibration, all of the current, it's sound. And we can use our voice to tap into that and transmute it, and that was the real like moment for me, working with a friend of mine who's a medicine woman and sings in ceremony, and just having that experience of stepping out of the way and allowing myself to be an instrument of spirit and allowing spirit to express itself as sound. It's really beautiful, and then there comes, of course, there's still this dance with the ego of wanting it to sound right and sound good, but it for me comes from a place of, I just know that it feels really amazing when I hit that sweet spot and feel the vibration through my whole body. So it's more for me about like that pursuit of that experience, and just like just feeling all of my cells and all of the water vibrate. And so it's that sense of searching for that, as opposed to like a specific tone or note or anything like that. But yeah, it's such a powerful practice. And for healing, it's incredible because we can express things, emotions, experiences, concepts as sounds when we can't express it as words. Like even in conversation, things sometimes you're just like, I was just like, ah.
Yes.
It's an expression of sound. It doesn't mean anything other than I receive your information. And when we start to dive into this world of sound and frequency and transmuting that, it's a real trip. There's so much power in light languages. Hold on. Really starting to rain. There.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yeah, when we go into this world of sound and frequency, and what we can transmit through that, it's pretty magical. You know, languages like Sanskrit and they're not based on a literal understanding of the word. It's about how you receive it and the coding and the vibration that frequency acts when it reflects on you. And that's worth it. You know what I mean? That's worth it. Like giving the little self a seat at the table that says, you know, we're not like the best singer in the world, but that doesn't mean we don't have power and beauty to express. And it's funny, that meditation, it was not planned whatsoever. I literally sat down and we just filmed the I Am the Light one, and everyone was just like crying on set. It was so powerful. And we just sat down and that came up and I just kind of said, oh, let's do it. I'm in the flow and as I was going through, you know, my little self is just like, I can't believe you're making these sounds right now. Like this is recorded and gonna be on the video and you're making the sounds. And I'm just like, yeah, it's happening. You know?
No, I'm going through the same thing in my living room completely by myself. So I mean, like it, and that was just the first time, but there's like, since I've done it since then, I'm there. Like I'm sitting down and I'm like, all right, let's get it out.
Yeah. So good.
There's something releasing about, like, you can breathe. You can breathe deeply. You can do box breathing. You can do any type of breathing and you think that you're getting it all out. But honestly, you're not until that sound comes out with it. And then you're like, oh man, that feels different. Yeah.
And that's the marker, right? That feels different. Okay, so now I have a new sensation as a point of reference. You know, when I'm having a conversation with somebody, when I'm doing my work, when I'm exercising my body, is that sensation present, right? Because it's how we tune our antenna and how we start to play with these frequencies and these energies that are so abundant and so available to us. We just have to take that leap of faith with our awareness and let it be present, you know, interact with it.
Yeah. And pay attention. I think that's the biggest thing is when you ask your body a question, and listen to what it says.
Even when you don't like the answer, really? You know, and maybe you can negotiate, but but yeah, it's really powerful. So integrating practices into our lives that create that space to like have that conversation so that when these moments come that we need to rely on our body for information and guidance, like when we're really like, oh man, what do I do? You know? Oh, okay. There we go. Right. And at least we have something. It's your closest ally. It's like that's the only relationship you have from your first breath to your last is with your body. Everybody else comes and goes. Parents, siblings, lovers, children. From zero to the end, it's you and your body. And that relationship is how we come into that divine union. You know? And it's worth it. It's worth giving it that space. It's worth giving it. I always say that a seat at the table because there's a lot of voices in my head a lot of times. You know, sometimes I'm gonna have to be like, okay, can everybody just calm down? I need to sit and meditate and clear some space. But yeah, it's really pumping up the value on that and sharing it. You know, I'm so thrilled to hear that practice comes through and it creates that space to reflect on that. And that you're courageous enough to go into it, you know, that, oh, there's something here for me, you know, and to be gentle with yourself about it, and love your way into it. It's definitely makes it stick.
Thank you. Well, yeah, I want to thank you for coming on today. I know I definitely want to give you a place if you have some things coming up that you can let people know, and then also where they can find you in the big world.
For sure. Thank you so much for having me today. It's such an honor. So much fun to chat with you. I do have some events coming up in August. I have a retreat here in Costa Rica with one of my teachers, sacred songstress Stella Fairbairn. She's really a incredibly powerful being. We're going to be doing it at Reunion Center in Costa Rica from August 12th to the 19th. It's a Puros Gamas retreat with some psilocybin ceremonies as well. And then in March next year, end of March, I have another retreat coming up, a Selva dance retreat that I co-facilitate with my dear soul sister, Danny McGregor. And she's also on the Body Rap. You might recognize her from Spicy Latin Grooves. So we're hosting a dance retreat, a Selva dance retreat in Tulum in Mexico. So that'll be another week of deep diving, and we do different kinds of practices and temazcal, and have wonderful conversations and dances and go on fun adventures and just really work with the tribe. It's really a beautiful process. So yeah, we'll post the info. You can check me out on my website, garnetsuidy.com, or same thing on my Instagram, or my social media on Facebook. And yeah, we'll have the information there.
Awesome. I will also include everything in the show notes as well on the YouTube video and on the podcast as well. So it'll be down there if you are listening. So I definitely want to thank you again for not only being here, but even though this is the first time we technically have met, you have been a part of my journey for a while now. And I am so grateful that you just said yes to being on, but then just, you know, in the small amount of time that I have known you, just the amazing kind of back and forth, and your energy is absolutely amazing. That's why I was like, I have to reach out and just see if he'll be on the podcast. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much, Morgan. It's an honor. I'm so glad you did reach out. And I'm so happy to be dancing and grooving with you in your living room and singing with you.
And to the podcast listeners, thank you so much for listening, giving me a platform to share my knowledge and have amazing guests like Garnet on here. So yeah, until next time, I will see you all again soon.
Ciao.
Bye.